So A plus day, obviously. Uh, After doing a quick check, no one here seems to be interested or working on the 1002 at the moment. So we'll just kind of key in on 1001. And then if anyone has any questions about the 1002, or you just you want to have an idea of what to expect when you get there or whatever, go ahead and ask. But no worries. Okay, so um, before I get started, anyone here who has never taken a CompTIA exam? CompTIA.
Me.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. So just a brief overview. Okay. This exam is going to be scenario based. Okay. It's going to cover. It's going to expect you to do a few different things. Okay. So the first thing you want to do is you want to find these objectives. It's going to pretty much give you an idea of everything that's going to be expected of you for this exam. So they're pretty easy to find. You can find them either in the student forum or just go online. It's probably easier to just Google it. Just Google this exam number right here, and they'll pop up. Okay, look for the PDF. Just to give you a quick idea of what it's going to be like, this is pretty much what you're going to be tested on, this type of stuff. Okay, so make sure you read through this and just about the exam section just gives you an idea of what to expect. Okay, it's something that I bet you most people don't do. Probably never read this stuff, but it has really, really good and valid information. Very good information to know. Okay, so maximum 90 questions. Okay, you're gonna get 90 minutes unless you get an accommodation, which is something that a few students have been able to get. And then pretty much it's gonna double the length. So instead of an hour and a half, I think you get like 3 hours, something like that. Okay. Um, the recommended experience is 12 months, right, in an IT support specialist role. So if you don't have that, just keep in mind that this exam is designed for people with this. Okay, it's written for people that have this experience. So the terminology that they use, the scenarios, they're all stuff that they're hoping that you've seen already. And if you haven't, you have to try to find a way to supplement that, right? Hands-on stuff. That's my my recommendation. Find a way to get some hands-on practice. Don't rely on lectures and practice exams. If you don't have this experience or any experience at all, it doesn't have to be an IT support specialist. Um, I've come across a few students that they naturally just they've been building computers over the years, right? They don't necessarily have um, this experience right here, but they have experience, right? A lot of them, anyone that's been building computers for years, they tell me that this exam was easy. Okay, so it's not really this experience; it's kind of any experience, dealing with like the components and the physical hardware of computers. That will make this a little bit easier for you because the emphasis on this exam is hardware, right? You got 27% here, and then you have hardware and network troubleshooting down here. So the majority of the exam is going to be pertaining to hardware in some fashion, okay, which makes it a little bit easier if that's something that you're familiar with. Okay. And then the other things, the grading scale, when it comes to each of these exams, this is something that throws a lot of people off because it's kind of hard to, to do the percentages or whatever. But um, this is going to be your passing score. So you're shooting for a 675 for A plus. So this will be the easiest mark to hit when it comes to the A plus, Net plus, and Security plus, because as you progress, this number goes up. So when you get to the next exam, if you pass the 1001, the passing score for the 1002 is actually 700. So it doesn't mean that the information is harder to retain or anything like that. It's just you have to score at a higher percentage as you progress. So that's something that's definitely good to know. And then what else? The other thing I would recommend you do is you study these objectives. You go through them and get an idea of what it is that you're supposed to be learning and what it is that you're supposed to remember about what you're learning, right? So in this example, 1.1, they're saying, given a scenario, install and configure laptop hardware components, right? And then these are the components that they expect you to be able to install and configure. So that's what I mean, when it comes to some stuff, it's good to maybe memorize, or I don't want to say memorize, that's really a bad word when it comes to CompTIA, but there's some areas where you can get away with it. If you were just talking about like compare and contrast with 1.4, they're not asking you to do anything here. It's just mostly about knowing the characteristics of this stuff and being able to differentiate between them, right? But then you come down to 1.5 and then you have another given a scenario, connect and configure accessories, right? So this is a little bit different than this. Here it's okay to just kind of get an idea for this information and then just kind of stop there. Here you want to get some practice if you can. Whenever it says install, configure, right? It gives you an idea of, what extent you need to go when you get to each section, right? What do I need to do here? I need to be able to use these methods here. Where down here, I just need to compare and contrast these ports, right? I just need to know what this is versus this. Okay, so that's what I mean by study the objectives. Go through them thoroughly, and just make sure you hit each of these as hard as you can, and keep track of what you're picking up as you're going through. I tend to find the easiest way, and I still do this to this day, is I'll just focus on one area at a time. Like right now, if I were to start here, which I did about a month ago, I took this exam. So what I did was, my approach was I just started here, right? And I didn't go past here. I just looked at this stuff. Stay here, so I stayed in here, got an idea. The first thing I did was, okay, what do I know? Which of these am I already good on? Okay, so maybe half of this stuff I'm good on, and then the rest of it, like the back half, maybe I need to pay close attention back here. Okay, so, and then once I get through this section here, then I test myself, right? I don't move to 1.2 yet. I go through here, whatever training it is, online expert, you go through Jason's training, for example, right? And then when I'm done with this section here, I test myself, right? So I'll go to Cert Master, right? Example right now. So let's go to the Cert Master. Okay. Actually, this isn't what I was looking for. This is the certification page, isn't it? Let's see. No, Cert Master. Okay. All right, so I just went over 1.1, right? Let me come back to this course. Right, so mobile devices. So what I'm going to do now is, once I've gone through 1.1 over here, okay, instead of going to 1.2 and then going to 1.3, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Cert Master, and I'm just going to focus on just 1.1 right here, right? I'm going to answer questions, and I'm going to keep track of the ones that I get right and the ones that I get wrong, right? If I get something wrong, if I get something right, then, I'm going to mark it off here saying that, all right, I get that. I can answer a question right about, right, SSD versus hybrid versus, magnetic disk, right? Let's say that I got a question wrong on memory. Okay, so that's the one I'm going to leave blank, right? And then once you figure out, where you are with 1.1, then you move on to 1.2, because you can always come back, right? You don't want to get stuck anywhere. You want to keep progressing, but you just want to keep track of what you're picking up and what you're not, right? So once I'm done with 1.1, now I can come down here to 1.2, right? Do it here first, whatever training you're taking, go through that. And then when you're done, go through 1.2, okay? So that's my approach. Everyone has different has different approaches to studying and things, but I can tell you this: if you're studying without using the objectives, you are setting yourself up for failure. Okay, if you're just kind of going through whatever training is provided to you, and you're just listening and taking notes here and there, that's not the way to do it. Okay, the best thing to do is to attack all of these, right? Use this to guide what you're studying and what you're trying to pick up on, right? And it's a good way to understand, okay, what is useful knowledge and what can I kind of just, put over there. It's not that you want to forget it, but it's not something that you want to beat yourself over the head with, right? This tells you that. This tells you what it is that what you should be studying and what you should be able to do, right? Either install or compare, contrast, whatever, all right? So to me, the objectives are probably resource number one. You definitely want to have them. And, do the same process all the way to the bottom, right? Start at 1.1 and don't stop until you get all the way down here. And, once you've done and you've gone through once already, then you can go all the way back to the top and then just look for the areas where everything that you left blank. Then you just want to key in there. You just you're chopping it down like little by little, what you need to know. Okay. So, and this isn't just for anyone starting off. This is for anyone. This is for everyone. To me, this is the best approach. When I started doing this, I didn't have the problems that I had the first time that I took an exam, right? This was the main change that I made after I failed my first exam was I put a lot more energy into focusing on what's here in the objectives and not so much on what's being said in the training courses. Yeah, that stuff is important, but without the objectives, you don't really know what it is that you're supposed to be keying in on and what you're not. Right? Not everything is going to be presented to you on the exam, but this gives you an idea of everything that's fair game. So that's my overall strategy when it comes to preparing for A+, not just A+, but CompTIA, right? I'll do the same thing with Net Plus. I'll do the same thing with Security Plus, and I'll do the same thing with Cisco. Starts with the objectives, and then you just kind of go from there, right? So, with that said, are there any objectives here under this list that anyone is struggling with and they want me to kind of address or go over it? I know everyone's at different levels, so some people are just getting started. Some people are probably taking the exam already, and they're preparing for retakes, so everyone's at different levels. Oh, by the way, this is this virtualization and cloud computing section here. For those of you that don't know, this was actually part of the second exam, the last series. So for the 900 series, virtualization and cloud computing was actually on the 902. This is the one major change that they made to this series, to the 1000 series. Is they just moved this from the second exam to the first exam. I don't know why they did that, to be honest with you, but it's the biggest change. Other than that, everything's pretty much the same. Okay, so what areas are bothering you guys, or is everyone good? We can cut out early for the day.
I haven't even actually gotten to this one yet. This is Eric Quick, but I'm just listening in for when I do get there. So I can't really say what's bothering me. I'm just appreciating the information.
Okay. Are you still working on Office?
I am. Yeah. I actually I'm just now studying for the words, sir.
Oh, okay.
I'm brand new. I'm brand new.
Okay. So I can tell you this stuff may kind of, if you know you have it coming up and you just want to kind of get an idea for, what you're going to see and all that, I mean, that's fine. But I want to put too, I want to put too much energy into this, not yet, right? This is a bridge that I would kind of worry about when I get here. Because, I mean, the office stuff, it can give you some problems too. I mean, trust me. I know a lot of people, they have some issues with the Outlook exam for some reason. I guess it's pretty difficult. When I was a student, Outlook was the easiest for me, but it was a long time ago. So, but yeah, but those office, they're not a walk in the park. Those office exams.
Okay.
Okay, Ryan says he's on domain 3, just trying to get through. Okay. Can I do the troubleshooting section? Start at section 2. What do you mean, Larry? You're talking about section 2 in. Okay, so if you're talking about you certify, it's important to remember that for some reason, they don't split the labs up. So the labs and you certify cover both exams. Okay, and first, I don't know why they don't do that. I mean, if it's one price, I'll take it. Because they could easily charge you for 1001 labs and then try to charge you for 1002 labs too. So they all come together, then I mean, that's fine. But the thing, so you can see up here, right? And this is, I know it says 901 and 902. That's not the point. The point is, when you come down here, it doesn't really say which ones are 901 or which ones are 902. So here's the best way to tell. Okay, one is the objectives. If you know the objectives, you'll know if you're working on something that doesn't pertain to your exam. All right. So let me give you an example. Where are the objectives are right here, right? So I'm gonna come down to actually, I'm gonna start right here. Mobile devices. No, I'm gonna come down here. Okay. So printers, right? Troubleshooting printers is probably gonna be where the 1001, the 901 or the 1001 ends, right? Right around here, around troubleshooting printers or wireless network problems, right? So if I come up here, back to you certify, right? All of these stuff up here, right? Like output devices and connectors, right? This is all stuff that's 1001 specific, right? All this hardware stuff. So when I scroll down here and I get to it's about 10, right? Same thing here, right? You're still seeing sound card stuff, right? Disk, driver versions, right? Screens, there's connecting speakers, right? So this is all hardware stuff still. So I get to about 11.1, okay? So when you get to 10.1, you see inserting ink cartridges, right? This is a hardware thing right here, right? When you get here to 11.1, you see it moves over to operating systems, right? Identifying symptoms or problems with the mobile operating system. Configuring email in Android, right? Setting up a VPN, right? This is where you start to get to your software stuff. Turning the personal hotspot on iPhone on, right? So this is where, like right around here, this is where your 1002 stuff starts. So this is where I would stop. I wouldn't do anything past here until you get to the 1002. And then, once you pass the first exam, and then you come back to you certified, now you don't have to do all these. You've already done these ones up here, right? You just come down to 11.1 and you start from here. This is the stuff that pertains to what you're going to be seeing on the 1002. Let me bring this up. It only takes a second, right? And then when you get to 1002, you'll see that the first thing that you start talking about here is operating systems, right? So where you start seeing stuff on operating systems, That's where you certify is shifting over from the 1001 to the 1002. Okay, so I would say like about 11.1 right here. I'm not sure if it's the same for you guys, but like I said, the objectives will tell you, right? You're not talking about printers much in on the 1002, right? So you know this is a 10, this is a 1001 thing, and then when you come over here and you start seeing operating systems, that's where you're moving over into 1002. I can iPhone, yeah. Actually, let me double check real quick. Okay, so the last thing here was troubleshooting common wired and wireless, right? So local resources shares, printers, right? Emails, SSID, right? So yeah, and then you move into the 10. So it's gonna be right around here. Okay, so the first like 10 all the way through 10 is gonna be the 1001. Let's see what else. On domain 3, that was doing good, and boom, took the post assessment, got 74%. Okay, so I'll tell you how to get you past those post assessments in just a second. Doesn't show any of the 1.0 stuff. Mic doesn't work. I wish I could talk and explain what I mean. Sure. Let's switch over to your screen for a second. Actually, I can't. How are you logged in? Maybe that has something to do with you not being able to use the audio. Did you sign in on your phone or computer? Your laptop. Okay. All right. So I sent you a prompt, so you should see it. There we go. Okay. So you're only seeing the 1002 stuff. You're not seeing the other stuff at all. Or 2.1, 2.1.2. Okay. Yeah. So yours is a little different than mine. That's what I was saying. Yeah, yours is different than mine. Definitely. Oh, I know what it is. You have the 1002 ones, and I have the 90. I have the 900 series ones. So as far as the numbers go, um, it's the same concept. Your numbers are different than mine. It's the same thing though. If you scroll down, where do you start seeing stuff on operating systems, right? Keep going. Installing FireWire cards, installing expansion cards, right? So all that is going to be 1001 stuff. Inserting the CD in the laptop, that's 1001 stuff. Keep going. Keep going. Enabling branch cache. Okay, so now you are in the 1002 stuff. Okay. Configuring screen resolution settings, changing resolution settings. Okay, go up a little bit. When you start seeing EFS and branch cache, that's stuff that you're going to start seeing in the 1002. So add in the keyboard right about there. That's your cutoff. Connecting speakers to a computer, configuring mouse settings, adding a keyboard layout, removing the pen drive from the computer, inserting the pen drive. Yeah, I think it's right about there. Well, you know what I would do is I would contact UCertify and have them explain it, because I don't get why they do this. It would be a lot easier to just say which objective you're covering, you know, and maybe it does. Can you click on 7.2.1? I just want to see if it, yeah, the connecting speakers. I want to see if it references objectives anywhere. Okay, so this is obviously going to be a 1001 deal, right? This is a physical type of thing, right? Yeah, it doesn't reference the objectives anywhere, which does kind of suck. providing cooling, ventilation, identifying computer stock, installing processor, replacing the power supply. Okay, yeah. So scroll down a little bit again. When you get down to EFS, like this row down here where 8.1, I think that's where you are starting. That's where you're going into the 1002. So everything after 8.1 is going to be relevant to the second exam. So that's not stuff that I would even be looking at right now. Okay. Does everyone get it? Is the best way to tell is just it's just by knowing the objectives. I don't know why they do that, but yeah, if everything up to about 8.1, if you scroll down just a bit, did it jump that fast? Oh no, you went down halfway. Okay, so yeah, right about there is where you're getting into your 1002 stuff. So everything up to that point I would do. And everything after that I would ignore until you get to the next exam. All right. If you're not sure, just go look at the objectives. Double check the objectives. If you're doing something that doesn't even seem like it doesn't really fit with what you've been learning, then yeah, it's for the next exam. Especially when you start seeing you see all those Windows icons. That's all software stuff, right? Because those are virtual machines. So, and you are going to see some of those up in the other section too, but you're going to see it a lot more as you go down past 8.1 because you know that's where you're getting into operating system stuff. Can you scroll down a little bit more? I want to see if they have Linux in there anywhere. Yeah, awesome. That's awesome because they didn't have that before. I don't think that they did, at least. So they have some Linux in there now, so they have a place for you to practice those Linux commands, which is awesome. And then the Mac OS, I doubt that they have that, but who knows? They might. Scroll down a little bit. See how you're seeing so many Windows icons. That gives you an idea that you are that you're in the second exam stuff because the focus is on operating systems. Yeah, I don't see any Mac OS stuff, but at least they gave you Linux, so that's good. Windows 10, Windows 10. Where's all the Windows 7? I didn't see Windows 7, and I don't see Windows. I did see a couple Windows 8, I think, but I don't see Windows 7 anywhere. Oh well. You can always download ISOs. Like you can always download ISOs and then just install your own virtual machines if you need to. That's something I would recommend for the second exam, just because you have to be a little bit familiar with some of the features of the different operating systems, not just the different operating systems, but the types. When you get to 1002, you have to know it's not just Windows 7 versus Windows 8. It's Windows 7 Pro. What features does Windows 7 Pro have? What features does Windows 7 Enterprise have? Ultimate, right? Which version gives you access to branch cache or EFS, right? Which one gives you access to BitLocker, right? That's the type of stuff that, when it comes to the operating system, some of the features and stuff that you need to know. It's going to be some of that stuff. But, all right, are you good, Larry? I'm gonna switch back to my screen. So I can get this straight. So, yeah, whenever you have time, just give me a call. If you have questions, I'll sit down and chop it up with you. No worries at all. Okay, let's come back to my screen now. Does anyone else have any questions about Youth Certified? It is kind of confusing, but there's a lot of good activities to do here. It's kind of gives you a playground for you to play around with some of this stuff without you having to actually like tear open your own PCs, which I would recommend if you have a spare PC laying around. I would definitely recommend taking it apart But if you don't, this is kind of the next best thing because it gives you access to this stuff. You don't have to worry about like breaking it. You know what I mean? It's just this is stuff that you should be familiar with when it comes to A plus to the 1001 at least. Right, motherboards, and, where all this stuff goes, where the processor would go, the RAM, right, your power supply, uh, right, your sound cards and stuff, like where all this stuff will go. You should be pretty familiar with this, and this will kind of, this will help you out with that. So, really good tool. I like it anyway. All right. Okay. What other questions do we have? Okay, Sean was talking about he's on domain 3. Okay, so let me give you some advice on an easy way to kind of make sure that you don't get hung up in Online Expert. Okay, I've shown a few people this before. This is something that because I actually got hung up myself in one of those sessions, and it took me a while to get past it. I'll show you what I did to help with that. Yeah, the post-assessment, Sean, right? The ones in Online Expert. Yeah, give me a second. I just cut it up. Get logged in here real quick. All right, so of course this is Net Plus. All right. So the best thing to do here, there's a couple things that you can do. Right. One is if you come over here to my tools, okay, you come down to your activity report right here. Okay. What this is gonna do is one is keeping track of your time, right? Your viewing time. So it's keeping track of how often everything that you do pretty much is being tracked while you're an Online Expert, which is good. Okay, then you got your test scores over here, right? So what you want to do is, and I haven't taken one, so it's not giving me one to print. Oh well. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, there's a study guide, right? At the end of each exam that you take, what it's going to do is it's going to highlight the questions that you got wrong. Everything that you got right will be excluded from the study guide, but any questions that you answered wrong will be in the study guide. So with that said, there's two things that you can do, right? Basically, what I'm saying is you should turn this into an open book exam. Okay, instead of trying to listen to the session all the way through, right? Let me stop this real quick before we get started. Okay. All right. So instead of, this is what I was doing, right? The first time around when I was trying to learn this stuff, right? What I would do is I would watch all of these. This, all the way down the list, right? And then I'll go take the post-assessment. I always just print the study guide at the end of each section, right? So I would watch all of these and then try to take the post-assessment, and what I was realizing is I didn't remember any of this stuff up here, right? Because if you just listen straight, I mean, we're talking about what is this on watch time, like an hour and a half, something like that. You're not going to remember everything, even if you're taking notes, right? So what you want to do is you want to turn this into an open book exam and then just answer the questions as you're going through the training. Does that make sense? It's going to save you a lot of time. So what I would do, you could do one or two things. You could either open the post-assessment and click all the way through. If you click all the way through and you don't answer anything, then all the questions will be on the post-assessment, right? Or they'll all be on the study guide, right? So what you can do is just click all the way through, all the way to the end, don't answer any questions, and then you'll get a study guide that has all the questions on it. Then go back and watch the training, and then as the questions come, you can answer them, right? Or the easiest way, the easier way to do that would be to just open another window. So I can come over here, sign in the online expert again, right? And then I could just go to post-assessment over here, right? So just pull this one out. And then open up the training over here. And then voila, same deal, right? It's basically just the same thing. The one that's just on paper. This way you can just watch, and then as the answers come, you can answer them, okay? Now, let me tell you the reason that I recommend you doing that, okay? One, you don't want to get stuck here in Online Expert. There's a ton of other resources that you're going to be using that are going to help you solidify a lot of the information and the stuff that you're learning in here. Okay, so you're going to be learning a lot of baseline information in here. Okay, it's not going to go into extreme depth. It's just kind of like the introduction into the material. Okay, that's why it's okay for you to do this as an open book exam. It's okay. All right, doing this is not going to assure that you pass the exam. So this isn't cheating. It's just fast tracking you past this. All right, because Online Expert is really just testing if you're paying attention, right? It's not really testing your analytical skills and all that stuff that much. It's really just because the questions come directly from the training, right? It's not really something that you have to try to figure out. If you're paying attention, or if you do this, and you won't have any problems getting through these post assessments. Okay, so your real test prep, your real exam prep starts once you get past Online Expert. Okay, and that's why I don't have a problem recommending that you do this. All right, this is the same thing. I did the exact same thing when I was a student and I got stuck. It's much better to do that and keep progressing than it is to get stuck here for weeks because you keep getting 78% on the post assessment. That's 160 questions. You see what I'm saying? You have to keep taking the same assessment over and over again because you can't remember everything. So I have no problem at all with recommending that you do that, okay? It's not going to give you an edge either way when it comes to passing the actual exam. All it's going to do is it's just going to fast track you past Online Expert so that you can get access to the other resources. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and then the other thing is it's giving you an extra dimension. As you're going through the training, you're not just listening and blacking out, right? I did that a lot. I found myself having to rewind a lot of times because I would miss stuff because it was just blah, 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 right? It's giving you an extra dimension. So instead of just listening now, you're listening with a purpose, right? You're trying to answer a question. So you're listening and you're answering questions at the same time. And if you add the workbook activities to that, it just strengthens the retention percentage. So no, it's not just you, Sean. It was me like 5 years ago. So no worries. Okay. All right. And don't forget that there are other resources that you guys can use. You know, just because you get started with Online Expert and they don't really give you access to some of the other resources until you get through Online Expert, there are some in the forum that you can use to help you. Okay. And I will show you those. Actually, I will show you those and where you can find them once we stop recording. So give me a second. All right. Any other questions on Online Expert while we're here? Okay. One more thing for those of you that don't know, student workbook. Okay. I know some people were a little confused about how this works at first, but if you come down here to the table of contents, you can see each session has its own stuff mapped out. Okay, so as you're going through the training, right, it has activities for you to do over here as well. Right, and like I said, it just kind of helps solidify what you're learning, because if you just listen and listen and listen. Unless you're one of those people that have like photographic memory and you can remember everything, listening to the session nonstop is pretty much going to be a waste of time. You're only going to pick up like probably 20 to 30% of it. The rest of it is going to be like, you have to go back through it again, right? That's why you want to add these activities because it helps solidify the stuff that you're learning. It helps you remember it better, right? The more dimensions you add to learning, the better the chances that you remember, right? So see it, say it, write it. The more that you do, the better the chances that you remember it. So that's what these activities are for, right? Just gives you like little fill in the blank stuff, and then you have actual, like this one, right? You have to match the. I think you're just matching the actual port numbers here, which is cool, right? Definitely need to know port numbers. This is, even though this is Net Plus, you definitely need to know your port numbers. You start learning most of these in A Plus. There's a few here that aren't in A Plus, but for the most part, like most of these, you're going to be learning in A Plus. So, right. Okay. This is where you're very frustrating. What is that, Wayne? One more time, where the times are located. Right, retyping later to help us going very slow. Trying to grasp. Oh yeah, that's why I said it's easier to try to break it up into sections instead of trying to learn everything all at once. It's easier that way. You feel a lot less, a lot less pressure. So, Sean, you said you want to know where to show the times over here under my tools on your dashboard, over in activity report. So just come under my tools, activity report, and then over here you'll get your training time, and then over here your test score. So you should be able to print your study guide from here if you don't print it, because it always gives you the option to print it once you're done taking the exam. The post assessment will say, do you want to print your study guide? But if you don't, you can come over here and you can print whichever one you want. So, all right. Oh, you must be in the new one. Okay. Your online expert doesn't look like that. Anyone else? Is anyone else using the new one? I don't know why they're doing that. Everyone should be transitioned over at the same time. Nothing like this. When you say nothing like this, what do you mean? You mean that yours doesn't look like this? Okay. Whose does look like?
Are they talking about the new LMS?
Yeah, they're talking about the new LMS.
Yeah, everyone should have got switched over.
Okay, so maybe I'm the only one on the old one.
No, yep, you are.
Right. Okay, so I'll get back to you on that. I need to move over. I need to I need to get back on the curve. I'm behind the curve right now. But yeah, I need to do that. So I'll probably do a session on just the new LMS. Probably have to. Does anyone walking you through that, or are they just telling you guys to sign in and go play?
What do you mean by that? Like logging in and everything?
Yeah, well, I mean, has anyone shown you how to navigate the new LMS?
Yeah,
just
Susan.
Here. Okay.
It's basically straightforward, but Susan told me how to, she did screenshots and did her little arrows and everything, but basically it's actually a lot simpler.
Okay. Alrighty. All right, let's see what else we have here. Sign in and go. Okay, so Wayne says sign in and go. All right. But you feel that it's a lot more user friendly than the old one. It's definitely a good thing. Yes,
All right,
and
is my mic on right now or no? I guess it
yeah,
is.
I can hear
Okay.
you.
So my issue is it's like it goes through, it just shows like my course activity. And then on the
Okay.
side, it like breaks down when I go through the videos. But I'm gonna try your test way too. So I just have to get my printer hooked up and kind of go through it that way. But also, if you convert it to like a PDF, or if you when you print the file and do it as a PDF, you just convert it, have it open up with Word, then you can kind of go through and mess with it. But like it cuts out like certain words, like configure is never spelled correctly. So you have to go in and kind of edit it. So that takes time as well. But I felt like when I was in the post assessments, I'd go through one time and, like I wouldn't pass. I've been averaging like my first attempts around 70s or whatever, and then like maybe the second attempt I'll go in, second or third attempt I'll go in and pass. But I feel like I'm kind of behind the power curve because I was doing it that way, trying to like remember everything and take notes and work in the handbook. It's just there's a lot of moving parts, and just trying to retain all this information has just been kind of. I mean, it's kind of like discouraging almost. That's how if I had to say one word, it'd be like discouraging.
Discouraging. Because of the assessment aspect, or
Yeah, like you think that you're going through and you're taking notes and you're thinking you're ready for this test, and then you get, and you're doing the handbook, the study guide too. The study guide, I really don't care for that much either. I mean, there's some good, useful information in it, but as far as like, I mean, there's a couple times where I'm kind of, okay, I don't remember him saying anything about this when we're going through it, and there's no like answer key available too. Maybe if they put an answer key available, like almost kind of like you were talking about with the test, like going through and like printing out the test, not answering the questions, and then you go back through and you're going through it. I think that portion of it's easier because I've seen like those questions, like I've heard him discuss those questions. There's some on the study guide though that aren't there. Like I don't hear them, or if I've just like maybe zoned out for a second. So I don't know.
okay.
No, Sean, you're right about that. There's a lot of just in my first two that I've completed in 1001. There's I got blanks on fill in the blank.
Right.
That he just doesn't say.
Okay, so I'm not the only one that thinks that then too.
No.
Okay, yeah, because I'm running into that a lot, and I'm kind of like, okay, and then it doesn't go like in any order. It's like you print like at the very beginning of the chapter, it's got those questions that you showed, Tristan, where you're kind of filling in the blanks, and then you go through, and then like it breaks it down by chapter. Well, then you're kind of going back and forth and flip-flopping, and then trying to take notes at the same time. It's just like there's so much. I mean, granted, I'm working on dual screen, but I feel like I need like 10 screens or some like Tony Stark stuff, going on. I don't know. It's like it's crazy.
I will say this much, Sean, because I actually have done the A+, both the first and second round of it. It's a lot of information that comes at you at like blinding speed. But the thing you got to understand is when you go to take the test, you're not going to be questioned on absolutely everything. I'm sure there's like a pool of questions, and then the computer will mix them around and generate your 72 questions that you need to answer, whatever the count is. So you just really got to take it with a grain of salt. And I for one, I completed all the online expert stuff, all the sessions, and then I went back and I did the homework, the study guide workbook. Yeah. And then that actually just helped to solidify a lot of the stuff. I did have to go back and watch a few videos, but I just filled in the blanks. And yeah, I remember from the first 1001, there was one or two questions that I just left blank, and I was like, yeah, I'm not really sure, but I got a general idea of this information. So, I mean, just like I said, you're not going to be they're not going to give you 1,001 questions. They're just going to give you a certain set amount. So it's just
Right.
got to really do your best to try to take in everything that you can and retain it.
Right. Well, Chris, this is also one of those progressive tests, though, too. So, like, say those 72 questions. Now, say it gets me into like plug and play devices or coaxial cables, RJ45s. Like, say I miss like a twisted pair color, or something.
Mhm.
It's gonna continue to hammer me on those though in that particular area though. Correct?
No, I don't.
Okay.
At least
No.
that's not the way that I felt about it.
Okay.
And honestly, there was things that, like practical application simulations that, it's like it's going to throw stuff at you that you haven't seen, but you know how to. You've gone into a web UI and configured a router before, right?
No, I have not.
Oh, you haven't. Okay,
No. This is just my
that's
first
something.
crack at A+, so I'm kind of
Okay,
like,
that's something that you should probably try, like Tristan was saying. Try to do that on your free time. If you have which you should have a router at home,
yes.
type in your gateway's IP address and look at the settings. Look at that stuff. Do the hands-on. Um, from way back when I was younger, I would go pick up what are they like pawn shop computers and screw with them, open them up
Mhm.
and identify what everything is and take it apart and see how it goes back together. And I mean, you can pick it up for like $20, I'm sure, but try to practical application this stuff. Try to like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go into my web UI on my router and see what settings I can adjust or whatever.
Right. Okay. Cool. Thanks for the info.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just try to keep in mind, don't try to pull everything out of Online Expert. Okay, it's a mistake. Don't think that taking Jason's training. It's not that Jason doesn't know his stuff or that he's not good. It's just you're not going to get everything that you need to know from going through his training. Even if you do it twice, because you have to add extra aspects to it. So for me, what I had to do was exactly what he said. I had a computer that was laying around, and I had to break it on purpose so I could practice putting it back together. It makes so much more sense when I actually did it, as opposed to just trying to visualize what someone else is saying. You see what I'm saying? I'm a hands-on learner, so anyway, that's going to help me. Anyways, I mean, I know not everyone is like that, but there are some aspects of A+ that you're gonna have to get some practice doing to fully understand it. There's a lot of concepts that you have to really do, and that's what he's saying. Anytime that you have a chance to do that, do it. Especially when you guys get to 1002, it'll be easy because there's so many features that are already built in that you can practice with, right? Like the command line. You can come in here and practice using all the command line tools that you're going to be learning. And if you don't do that, I mean, some of them you may get just because, okay, IP config, all right, has to do with IP settings, right? Like you may be able to correlate that. But if you don't know what ARP is for or what ping is for or trace route, and you don't practice doing that stuff, then it may throw you off when you see it on the exam. You see what I'm saying? But if you actually do it, then you can, oh yeah, I remember doing that. So that's my thing. Don't try to pull everything out of Online Expert. Right? Like I said, you're going to get access to more resources once you get through Online Export. So just right now, just focus on getting through these sessions. And then once you get through these sessions, then you're going to start getting you certified and Cert Master. And there's some other training, right? There's some professional master resources that we have in our forum that I'm going to show you in just a second.
Yes.
So my point is, use as many resources as you can, and don't try to put all your eggs in this basket. Okay, Jason is awesome. I love the way that he does his courses. Right. At the same time, when I'm getting ready for any exam, I'm not using only Jason. Right. I'm using Jason. I'm using Professor Messer. I'm using whatever other resources I have available to me, and I'm pulling a little bit from each one as opposed to trying to pull everything from one. Okay, so don't let it frustrate you. Trust me, there's a ton of other things that you can use now that will help you. And I'm going to show you a couple real quick.